Welcome back to another episode of Asheville Real Estate News. Really excited to bring you guys a great guest this week. Jeff Stewart with Downtown KW helps develop, run that office, kind of a CEO role. And so we just had a really good conversation, kind of hopped around a lot of different topics, everything from how he got started in real estate to where he is now and what he's doing to what to think about when hiring, things that are important when it's developing a team, and kind of looking ahead into 2020 and what are some of the predictions that are going to happen. We also briefly touch on iBuyers and how that's going to disrupt or help the market coming in, in the next couple of months. So really great episode. Share it with your friends. Leave us a review. It'd be much appreciated. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy. Well, welcome to the show, Jeff. Really excited to have this conversation. Thankful that you took the time to come to the studio and chat a little bit. Yeah, do you mind just starting on how you got to Asheville and a little bit about what you do today?
Yeah, so I grew up in Asheville. So I was born in Silva. Okay. And ended up coming over here to high school, went to Carolina Day. Okay. And then spent high school here and then went away to college.
And came back.
Came back.
Did you think you were going to come back, or was that you went somewhere else and it kind of kept just drawing you back?
I don't think I was drawn to come back. Like, I got to get back to Asheville, but there's a piece about Asheville. I like the water. Maine's important to me. I go to Maine a lot as well. Okay. But Asheville was something that just, it always fit.
It's always sticky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still a little sticky. Yeah.
So you got back to Asheville, and what are you doing now? Let's start there. What's the current role?
So I manage Keller Williams offices. Mm-hmm. So I have a position in the downtown office. We have 4 locations there, and then operating partner on Keller Williams Elite in South Asheville. So 5 Keller Williams offices.
And so when you're managing the offices, what does that mean? Are you working like behind the scenes, helping people with their business? Yeah. Are you running people's businesses? What does that model look like as far as what's kind of your day-to-day, I guess?
So it's effectively a CEO position. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm managing budgets, hiring, firing. My passion is in business growth and development. Okay. So literally I'm getting in business with the right people, and then my passion's helping them develop that. It's like I don't know that I knew that was my passion.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What were you doing before then, and then when did you realize that this was your passion to kind of like switch gears and go into that?
So I've always been entrepreneurial.
Right.
So started a couple companies on my own. I was in the cycling industry for a long time. Had a friend here, Rory Heller, who was like, you got to come do real estate. You got to come do real estate. I've always been good at sales. And got up, and man, it just took off. It was hard in the beginning, but it really exploded.
When you say hard in the beginning, how long was the beginning?
Oh boy,
like
2008.
So how long was it hard before? Like, I know when I first started, I didn't feel a benefit of anything I was doing probably until like close to year 4, where I was like, okay, this is good. This is like valid.
Yeah.
And so I'm always curious to know what that like time frame is. Like, if you say 1 week, I'm going to be like, come on.
No. I think what you're referring to is when you get the inertia, like when momentum starts to be in your favor. Honestly, I don't think I hit that stride until probably the end of the first year, and I wouldn't have done it alone. It took some help from friends and family to get to that point.
And so you had your team going and everything, and then you got excited. Or, well, I don't know. Maybe you didn't have a team then.
No team.
So
no. Sleeping on a couch.
Sleeping on a couch.
I don't know if you know my story
I don't know your story at all.
This is crazy.
Okay. Yeah.
So stock market was crashing. My friend Rory, who's an agent at Keller, he's like, you got to come check it out. I literally walked into my bedroom in Athens, Georgia, and said to my wife, I got this idea. I think everything's crashing, and if I can get my roots planted right now, people are gonna get out of the business, and I think I can grow with the industry. She literally said, I trust you. We were a year into marriage, and it was bold, but I moved to Asheville from Athens, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and really luxurious accommodations. I slept on Rory's couch for 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. So you started there, and then you said you got your inertia going your first year, and then obviously you do business development and kind of business growth. Yeah. When did you start doing that for yourself?
So as I mentioned, entrepreneurial. So was totally into it and like push. After the first year, there was a point at which you hit a talent ceiling. That was as I moved into my second year, and you could feel it. We call it a glass ceiling, but I could see through it. But I wasn't sure how to get to the next level. It's at that point that we have a saying: you don't rise to your talents, you fall to the level of your systems. And like I was just up against a wall. Like I could not break through. And started adopting some things as much as I hate it. Like the idea of a corporate entity just makes my skin itch, right?
Yeah.
So I fought it, but there was a point where I was like, hey, I'm going to take some things out of the toolbox and try it. And it started to create some leverage in my life that allowed me to focus on the things that ultimately were my talent spots.
How did you manage the part of like staying true to yourself and then evolving and adopting like different mindsets without feeling like you're sacrificing like being you, right? Like you said, you hated the idea of a corporate entity and probably some of the things that came with that.
Fear-based.
Is it? But I mean,
yeah. So for me,
right?
It was fear-based.
So you didn't feel like there was any like you didn't have to reconcile like who you wanted to be with who you were in a sense. Like it was.
For me, a lot of that, and maybe I know more about it now, but a lot of that's ego stuff. Like we have this idea that by adopting other technology or systems or leveraging tools that are around us that we're giving something up. And I'm at a point now where I argue that it's savvy. Like let's adopt those things that can create leverage for us in our lives and let us go with that.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. So let's jump forward to today a little bit. You know, jump around a little bit. What is the, talking about leverage and things, when somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, Jeff, I need help, or you're working with somebody and they're kind of in that beginning part of breaking through that first glass ceiling, what are some of the leverage points that you think are common for most people in the real estate industry that they need to work on first? If that's not too much of a loaded question.
So my experience is mostly with agents.
Right.
So there are a lot of different parts or verticals in real estate.
Yeah.
So most of my experience comes through agents, and what I find is, believe it or not, a lot of agents, their biggest struggle is understanding how to create value in their relationships without being a parasite to the relationship. So what I mean by that is our biggest asset in real estate is the people around us.
Yep.
Right? It's literally our network, our sphere. So to say to an agent, I need you to reach out to your sphere if you want to create a business for yourself, feels like a take. So I'm not going to reach out to my friends because those are the ones that I'll reach out to people I don't know, but I'm not going to call my friends, right? There's a point where there's a mental shift you have to get into where if you can figure out, how do I bring value to this relationship? Then you can move into a space where it's through contribution, and it's an easy phone call. It sounds like kind of manipulating things a little bit, but actually, if you can create value and you have confidence in what you can provide, or that you can find the right answers to the questions, your friends are better off with you than someone else making a move in that direction.
Yeah, so I'm a big Zig Ziglar fan, and he says, right, it's like you can get anything you want in the world if you help everyone else get what they want. Yeah. And when do people make that shift? Is that they just start really believing what they know? Is it a confidence thing? Is it because
80% of people don't do it.
But what is it though? Like why wouldn't somebody be like, hey, like I have all this knowledge, I do this thing, like let me just share it with you? Or so it is. They don't have the knowledge. So it's not a competence, maybe.
It's a grit thing. So it's grit or skills, right? Yeah. So we get to a point where when I got into real estate, what I knew is I will out-grit you. Like whoever I was up against, I was going to out-grit them. Didn't have the skill set, right? But was so adamant about working through it and getting the skill set to make sure that I was creating a competitive advantage for my clients on either side, buying or selling, that I was just able to go with it.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we do in business development. The first thing is asking questions.
Yeah.
If you're not asking questions, if you're talking,
Mm-hmm.
you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying what you think needs to be said rather than servicing the conversation that you're in. I think that's the biggest thing is helping agents move into that space where they're just willing to find the answers for people.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to communicate that, hey, I don't have all the answers, and I haven't been in the business for 20 years, but what I can do is get the right answers because I'm surrounded by this great network and these systems and tools around me, and I'll make sure that we have a competitive advantage that'll put you in the right space.
When did you start realizing you wanted to transition from, working and operating your own team into the role that you're in today? Did something happen? Was there just like an epiphany, or did somebody approach you and be like, man, you've built something really special? Like, can you help replicate?
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay, please.
Okay? So I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable if that's okay. So
please.
In business and in a lot of the endeavors, business and or life that I've been involved in, I think the biggest curse you can get into is being talented at something. Mm-hmm. Like being naturally gifted in communication or sales or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. With that, it brings complacency. Right. And for me, as my business continued to grow, when I got into the real estate game, I'm crazy. Yeah. I printed out the top 10 agents in the MLS, taped them to a computer monitor, and looked at it every morning. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I was like number 1,400. Right. I was the newest agent in a board that had been just mauled by the industry, downshifting. Right. So I moved into a space where I was like, I want to get there. I think as I built a business, I never wanted a team. So I was able to build a team with some leverage points, like listing people, buying people, administrative support. I did that because the biggest challenge that we run into with scaling a business is that we literally penalize our clients for our success.
What do you mean by that?
So as my business scales, say you sell, for example, 10 homes in a year. Mm-hmm. You can service them at a level that creates such amazing customer service that everybody wins. Right. I sell 140 homes in a year.
How do you create that same experience?
That's right. So then we get into the models of systems and processes. How can I replicate my standards for the consumer through all the people on the team, all members of the team? Yeah. That's why I ended up building a team, is because I was interested in doing more and helping more people. Mm-hmm. It sounds funny because we think about business as a take, like we generate wealth or generate this. Mm-hmm. I literally was just trying to help people win. I mean, I get glassy-eyed if I can create a higher list-to-sell ratio or a lower buy ratio. And doing that with your network is it's infectious. It just starts growing through referrals and all that. And that's how I ended up building the team. I was like, I just wanted to grow. And I wasn't willing to let me being busy affect people. Yeah.
And so is that kind of what led you into what you're doing now?
Yeah. So this is interesting. So when I said I was going to be vulnerable, I think talent in those areas becomes a curse, because if you're not stretching anymore, if you're doing a routine and hiring people and staying in your safe zone, for me, that's when I start to be complacent in my thinking. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So I started to move into a space where I was like, I don't want to say bored, because it's not like it was mastered. Mm-hmm. Right. But it's like I needed the challenge of being able to stretch.
You weren't pushing yourself maybe the same way. Like you're still doing good things and making things happen, but you didn't have the list of the 10 people anymore on the computer screen, right?
Without taking you down a huge bunny trail here, there was a pivotal moment. We do Christmas photos with the team that I built. And there was a Christmas photo where we pay for a photographer to do photos for our administrative people, their families, dogs, all that, right? And I'm looking at it, and there's 65 people in this picture. Wow. And to put that in perspective, I slept on a couch for 2.5 years when I got into real estate. So to think that what we were creating was affecting that many people really was humbling, right? Yeah. And then one of the owners of the Asheville Market Center, Sherry Puffer, she was talking to me about taking the position I'm in now, and I mentioned that photo.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I had 11 people on my team at the time. And she said, what does that look like if you have 400 people on your team? When you talk about impact,
right?
Like, that's when I started moving into a space of really helping other people build their businesses. It went into an impact mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to helping other people build their teams, like I'm kind of going through the early infancy stages of that.
Yeah.
Just hired somebody new. Anybody who's listened to the show knows Nolan and I've been working together 4 years-ish now.
Right.
And it's been like, before he came on board, it was like a year-long process of like mentally getting over that. Had somebody else just join. It's been like, it took a while to get there. What advice do you have to somebody who's kind of in my shoes, who's maybe like had 1 or 2 hires, and like how do you like make sure you don't like get in your own way and, you know, self-sabotage by accident?
So I'm gonna from a business perspective on this, slow to hire, quick to fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the most impactful thing that I could say.
Right.
Really do your due diligence on the front side.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure these are the people that we want to be in business with, our core values in alignment. And am I going to be pulling them through business growth, or is this somebody that's going to push me into expanding?
Yeah.
And I think if you're really critical about creating that team around you, then it's a win. It's not the hiring that's the hard part. It's after the first day.
Right. And that's definitely kind of what I've noticed is like, so you said somebody that's going to push for growth, right? So how do you make sure that if somebody's pushing, you're not like pushing back the wrong way by accident, right? Like being a bottleneck in something or like holding on to a process or a way you've done things too tightly that should be changed.
Here's a great example of that. So if you're thinking when you're about to hire somebody, I may not have a job big enough for that person, you probably have the right person.
Well, that's good to know. Good. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It sounds like somebody's thinking about hiring. The biggest mistake they can make is what? Hire too quickly or not putting in the time?
Urgency.
Yeah.
So we hire from a pain point.
Right.
That's what everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a core group around us
to
help remind us, let's slow down, let's make the right hires.
Yeah.
And I really do believe in following a process, the hiring process.
When you're talking about impact, going back to that conversation a little bit, how is that something that you feel that you measure well or like, because you're in a position where obviously a lot of people are looking up to you, are learning from you, and you're being able to have these like major ripple effects. Let me rephrase the question. What do you do now to not have that complacency? Because you're good at it, right? That you had it before. Is it just that you have got really strong alignment with why you're doing it and you feel that? Or is it that you've set different goals like on a consistent basis to get there, if that question makes sense?
So summarize that for me. So
you said earlier, right? Like if you're really good at something, that's kind of a double-edged sword because sometimes you get a little, I don't know, lazy or complacent. I forget what was the word. So it seems, and from conversations we've had and other people, it seems like you're really good at helping people build teams. So what are you doing to not have that same complacency in the boat?
It's interesting, and I don't believe this to be just me, but if it's about other people, I don't run into complacency.
Right. So then
I actually am fed by that. There's something, and this goes for clients in a real estate transaction as well, or whatever business you're in. But if you're creating impact with those people around you, it is absolutely electrifying. I will not let the people around me down,
right?
Because they've taken jobs. A lot of them have taken pay cuts to get in the jobs to be part of a leadership team or part of the agent base. It's a risk, right? And what they have is grit.
Yeah.
So our job is to qualify the grit on the first night. Do you really want this? And if yes, let's sit down and come up with a plan. It's not the same plan. Right? But let's figure it out and let's do it together.
That makes sense. What are you the most excited about right now that you're working on?
I would say culture. I know that's a really interesting thing to say. We've had a tremendous success in the market centers that we're part of with developing culture. And the way people look walking through the halls and the pride and like the little thank you notes seeing people's lives change. We had an agent last fall who she met her financial threshold. This is a weird conversation, but she was like, I'm not motivated to make more money. Which is, it's not that she was excessively wealthy. She just was like, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And through some questioning, we found out that it was most important to her to donate to her church and sponsor some people in a gym situation.
Yeah.
That to go to a gym with her kids, right? We framed that. We created a gap analysis between that time and the end of the year. She crushed it and was able to hit those goals. That's life changing for those families around her.
And for her,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So part of Keller Williams, right? So you are always looking for new agents, I'm assuming?
For the right agents.
For the right agent.
Yeah.
So who's the right agent if somebody's listening to this and they're getting started? Who's the right agent to be part of that ecosystem?
So you have to want it for the right reasons. So there's Keller as a whole is really entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
So we're looking for people that want to contribute. They want to build something. They want to change their life and people around them. Salespeople those are different people than consultants, right? And I think in the past we've fallen into like sales. It's transactional, and we get into a consulting mindset. Those are the people. Like, if you can deliver value to the people around you and get what you want in life, I want to have a conversation with you. And our job's to help you develop that.
Right. Do you think that's a skill set, or is it the way people are wired?
So I think skills can be learned.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you think somebody can learn how to change that approach from being like instead of somewhat transactional focused to be more transformational focused?
Yeah, I think so. I was starving when I got into the business. It was transactional. I needed to eat.
And then
I needed to eat.
Started changing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wrapping up really quick, couple questions. Curious to know, just looking outside, Keller Williams has been involved in like the iBuyers, right? They've got a little branch of that. Personally, for what we do on our end, pretty excited to see what that happens. Thinks it's, our whole thing's like we buy houses cash, et cetera. And sometimes people don't know what that means. So I'm personally excited, like, okay, good. Now it's going to become mainstream, how do you think that's going to affect agents and, if at all?
So ultimately, we're going to see through tech and AI and those kind of things, we're going to see a replacement of probably about 20% of the workforce. It's going to happen. There's going to be downward pressure on commission. It's going to happen. I'd recommend Platform Revolution as a book for people to read if they're curious about that at all. With the iBuyer segment, it's fantastic because it is a toolbox item. What you're doing and the service you're creating is a solution, right? So that's a tool in the toolbox. And the idea with Keller is just to offer a solution similar to that. It doesn't fit for everybody. And the idea is not to undersell people. The idea is to give them relief. And you run into that with your business. You'll get thank yous just like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some people say, oh, you're an investor. And you're like, the bad guy. You're like, if you saw the people when we close and when they're in that situation, like that's what feeds me. And I think that's where the iBuyer thing is going to be pivotal moving forward. Yeah,
I think it'll be interesting. It'll create almost like a whole new segment that's going to be mainstream. It won't just be an investor type of thing, right?
No, it's all, and I love that it's all above board. It's like, this is a solution. Let's help you move on to the next step.
2020 is coming around the corner. We've been in an upswing market for a while. Can I put you on the spot and see if you have any predictions you want to go on the record on for next year?
So we're I believe that in the next 12, 16 months, we're going to see a significant change in the way real estate's done.
Interesting.
I hope that doesn't scare everybody to death, but you should be aware of it.
Yeah.
We're moving from pipeline to platform sales. Being savvy to that, I think that this is going to sound funny, kind of what's the movie? Terminator. But I really do believe that there will be a partnership between who we are as people and the technology and the AI. The technology and the AI is going to interpret data. They will still need agents and people like yourself to interpret that data and to help people move through that. We're going to see a huge shift. We're going to all we need to do is we need to be in a continual state of learning. If we're continuing to move forward, everything's gonna be fine. We're interpreting data. We're moving with the technology. It's the head in the sand that isn't gonna work. So,
do you have any feel for what do you think is gonna be the biggest noticeable change in that?
There's Zillow. Those things are gonna create disruptor. I mean, it's already disrupting. Yeah, they're in Charlotte, brick and mortar.
Right.
But I also love that. Because it's gonna create. Go ahead.
Sorry, no. I was just saying, it's like with all of this, I always like. I read it somewhere. I wish I could remember right now, but I don't. They're talking about like the airline industry, right?
Yeah.
So it's very similar. Like traditional brokerage, you could consider like I don't know Delta or American, and all these other things are like Frontier or Spirit Air or whatever. Sure. And some people never fly on those airlines because they don't get. That's right. Whatever the service component.
That was my point. So I think that's great. These disruptors.
Yeah.
So it literally goes incumbent.
Yeah.
And disruptor. And the job of the disruptor is to get market share faster than the incumbent can adopt new technology. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So that's literally.
What's happening. Yeah.
That's what's happening. Right. So I actually like it because the people that are doing a great job that know their value proposition and can create.
Yeah.
Competitive advantage with the people they're in business with are going to flourish. They will use technology as a tool. Yeah, and I'm excited about it. It's funny because it's so scary. It's like downward commission pressure and like all this stuff. Like I think it's great. I think the people that are out there that do an amazing job are going to flourish.
Right, because it's going to put them on a pedestal almost. That's even more.
The lazy agents are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't be a lazy agent. Yeah. But I mean, that's in anything, right? Like it's going to happen. Well, last question.
Yeah.
What is from a market center perspective that you're working out, what are you going to be focusing on for the next year when it comes to team building? Is there I don't even know if that's anything you guys go into with a year with like a general theme or anything.
We do. Yeah.
So I'm just curious to know from like anybody listening who's working on building and just growing a little bit, taking that next step. What are the things that you guys are harping on going into next year?
As far as market segments or?
No, like as far as team building and building a business and developing that is like, are you just like, what are trends that you think are important? Like, are you focusing on hiring, culture, things like that? Like, so, what do you,
So it's really important. So there's always people wanting to get into the business. Our focus right now is making sure that people already in the business those glass ceilings I was talking about can happen at all different levels of the game.
Right.
So a lot of our focus is how do we continue to create more value inside than there is outside. So really ramping up the technology, leveraging that, training, and those relationships. I think a lot of that's going to happen. I love getting in conversation with people not in our company, what's working, what isn't working.
Right.
And I'll share the same because I think if we work together on this, everybody's going to
it's a win-win,
it's a total win-win. I think it's just aligning with the right people and continuing to have a super high level of customer service.
Okay, awesome, man. How do people connect with you or with Keller or with the market centers, et cetera? What's the best way for people to do that?
Fairly easy. jstewart@kw.com is the email address.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool.
And you can call the front desk at any of the Keller offices. That works as well.
Great. Any parting words that maybe we didn't touch on that you really needed to have a platform for you?
I don't think so.
Good. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. All right, guys, there you have it. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. As always, we'd appreciate any reviews, sharing with your friends, and just go to iTunes, leave us 5 stars or 1 star. Either way, appreciate it. See you guys next week.